Good morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily. I'm your host, Jonathan Chilia, joined by my co-host, Tim Diacono, and here are your headlines for today. BCOM students to be failed automatically after cheating ring is discovered at the University of Malta. Over 260 migrants allegedly denied entry to Malta. Company behind €500,000 donation thought ADRIAN DELIA headed TAL-PROVIDENZA. MP asked whether PILATUS bank inquiry has been concluded and recommends criminal action. And the UK enters a national lockdown for the second time because of COVID-19 spike. So we're going to head into the first story. This is a bit of a shock, a bit of a rough start to the year for Maltese first-year students, but an entire class of BCOM students will be automatically failed after lecturers found evidence of a cheating ring. So students at the Faculty of Economics, Management and Accountancy were sent a letter yesterday telling them that whoever had taken Test 1 and Test 2 for study unit EMA 1008 would be automatically failing. Obviously, this caused a lot of outrage and confusion among many students, especially the ones who did not cheat, to find that they'd be getting an automatic 0 on their test. So the faculty said that it is in possession of over 43 screenshots from an apparent Facebook Messenger chat that showed planning and actively, conspiring to do this cheating. Now, we're not very aware of what form the cheating took place in, but I have to say, students were not happy at all. Facebook yesterday was full of students commenting, complaining, and asking, what happened? Did someone speak out? Did someone who cheated maybe inform the faculty? And the unit in question was quantitative analysis for business, a maths-heavy unit. But Tim, what do you make of this this start to the year in such a conspicuous way?
Well, what we do know is that the exam was done virtually, and these students were chatting. Apparently, we don't know the full details, but apparently they were managing to chat during the exam, which shows how cheating can happen quite easily during virtual learning. And I honestly wonder how many times this has happened. Interestingly, some student organizations have also reacted quite strongly to this, namely KSU, the Students' Union, which criticized the faculty for failing everyone automatically rather than just the cheaters. So quite a big story yesterday, especially if you're a student. Just let us know what you think about this incident in the comments below and whether you think everyone deserves to fail. Moving on, over 260 migrants have allegedly been denied entry into Malta. So Open Arms, a migrant rescue NGO, said on Twitter yesterday that a group of 260 migrants were found had appeared in Malta's search and rescue zone. Malta refused to take them in, and eventually they ended up in Sicily. Now the details over here are still quite scant at this stage. What we do know is that Sicily did accept a boat of 260 migrants. We don't yet know what Malta's role in this is. But what we do know is that this is the first major migration incident in quite a few months, and it shows that the problem is still very much with us. What do you make of it?
It's just the first week of 2021, but migration is nearly a constant issue in Malta. Obviously, we are located between Europe and Africa, so it comes as no surprise. We reached out to the Home Affairs Ministry, as well as Minister Byron Camilleri, for clarification on what happened exactly. They remained silent, unfortunately, on this case, so we'll definitely be following it to see if there's any more developments in this. Moving on to the next story, this is quite a strange one. So obviously, a lot of news, a lot of headlines over the last few days were about the fact that a €500,000 donation was given to TAL-PROVIDENZA by a company called CATCO, with former PN leader ADRIAN DELIA, kind of leading it and presenting the donation. However, it turns out that the chairman of the company in question, CATCO, which is based in Tunisia, was unaware of who ADRIAN DELIA really was. Speaking to the Times of Malta, the CATCO chairman, Fizal Abdullah Alokla, said, quote, "I thought that ADRIAN DELIA is the head of TAL-PROVIDENZA, and I did not know that he was heading the opposition. If I knew this, I would not have allowed it from the beginning." So quite an interesting turn of events. Obviously, a lot of people had been talking about this donation, whether it was something related to money laundering. People were calling for, a vetting process to be put in place, which is happening. But the fact that the company's chairman wasn't really aware of ADRIAN DELIA's role in this is a bit surprising.
Yeah, look, this is the first time in quite a few years that Malta has a former leader of a major party who has decided to remain very much active in politics. So it's quite a new scenario, and the rift and the criticism that this story brought out within the PN itself does go to show that the election of last summer hasn't really solved the problems of factionalism, for lack of a better word. Moving on to another controversial nationalist MP, this time Jason Azzopardi, has asked Edward Zamit-Lewis, the Justice Minister, whether an inquiry into PILATUS Bank has been concluded and has been at the Attorney General's office for a month. And Azzopardi is asking the Minister to confirm whether this inquiry recommends criminal action against the bank for money laundering, but also a further investigation into the MFSA and the FIAU for giving the bank a license in the first place and for allowing it to operate, which could really open up a can of worms that literally the regulatory authorities could end up under investigation for not doing their job well enough.
Wow. Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, this is a massive year for Maltese financial authorities. Obviously, the shadow of Moneyval is looming harshly over the Maltese islands. So Maltese financial authorities are under pressure to start, prosecuting more crimes, kind of make up the numbers, so that when Europe does come knocking to see kind of what Malta has been doing when it comes to financial crimes, it's not a blank slate, that there are some things to show. So we'll definitely have to be following this story and see if there's any more developments. But Jason Azzopardi is bringing it up, so it's definitely going to be in the headlines over the next few days. Moving on to the final story of the day, an international one. I'm sure you saw it last night. England has entered a second national lockdown after first entering one last March 2020. Prime Minister Boris Johnson spoke out about the new lockdown. This comes as Wales and Scotland have also entered similar lockdowns. Boris Johnson said that in light of the new COVID-19 variant that is spreading around the UK as well as Europe and other parts of the world now, they thought it was apt to enter a second lockdown. People are permitted to leave their homes under a certain number of circumstances, for example, to shop for essentials, to exercise, to work if they cannot work from home, to get a COVID-19 test, or to escape domestic violence. So there are still some caveats to the lockdown. However, Lovin Malta spoke to a Maltese hospital coordinator in Liverpool, John McAuliffe Moreno, who's a coordinator at Liverpool's Alder Hey Hospital, a children's hospital. And he said while he welcomes the lockdown, he did say, quote, it was a bit late. And he said, the situation is getting worse. We are seeing a great increase in cases, and many of them are in healthcare staff, which is just going to slow down the whole, operational side of things. What do you make of this, Tim?
Well, I mean, it's sad to see this happen, really. I think we've been in this situation for around a year now. I mean, at least what's different this time around is that there is light at the end of the tunnel, whereas before there was no end goal and people are just locking down without a purpose. Now there is a vaccine that's actually being distributed, so hopefully will be at the end of the road in a few months' time. In Malta's case, yesterday we recorded quite a few new COVID-19 cases, 148, which is actually the largest single-day increase since 25th or 26th November. 111 more recoveries, and unfortunately two more deaths. At the moment, the number of active cases stands at 1,622, and further updates will be delivered this afternoon, and the rise is expected to continue. So that's all for us today. Make sure you follow lovinmalta.com for all the latest updates on everything that's happening in Malta, and have a day full of loving.